Welcome back to the Maurice on Home Show on TCN, Toronto Career News Network. We are back, refreshed, and brand new. Today we have a special guest, David Rhodd, who is also a fantastic mortgage agent. Thanks for coming. We appreciate it. And my special co-host, Rohan Chambers.
Hey, what's going on, family?
How you doing, David?
Good, can't complain,
Thanks for having you once again.
Perfect.
Okay. So we wanted to get right into it
Okay.
and talk about some changes in the market.
Yes.
I know that last October, November, if I'm not wrong with the time frame, we had some changes with mortgage qualifications. So
That's
can you
right.
tell us a little bit more about that?
So essentially what happened, the banks and the government slowed down the whole economy, or they want to. They think the housing prices are going too high and too quickly.
Okay.
So what they did is they implemented some measures so that it's a stress test. So in the event that the mortgage rates go up,
Okay.
people are not going to default on their homes.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially people that have 5% down, they have to qualify at 4.64 as of today. Which what that did is that put people back about 100,000 in terms of what they can qualify
100,000.
for. 100,000.
That's a big difference.
A big difference. So essentially, if you could qualify for a $500,000 home, now it's only 400,000.
Okay.
So those were the major changes that happened. Also, CMHC raised their premiums. So that works out to be about $5 a month.
Sorry to interrupt. Did they raise it at the exact same time they came out with the stress test?
No, it was a little bit after that.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the results of it right now so far.
Okay. So have you had any clients with your personal experience that had that same situation? They were qualified for around, say, to make it easy, 500,000.
Yeah.
Now they're at 400,000, and I'm assuming it's an emotional burden for them
Definitely.
because now they're not going to get the same home that they wanted before.
Definitely. One unfortunate thing is some people purchased houses before and didn't get firm pre-approvals, right? So what that does is they don't really have anything that says they can get that home anymore. So now we had to find other solutions to get them into a home.
Okay.
Right. So that could be borrowing money from family and friends, getting two mortgages instead of one, first and second mortgages, because we do have lenders that go up to 95% on the private side.
Okay.
So we had to find a solution for them. So
that's actually very good because I know some lenders only like to help when it's 90%.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
But just to clarify, because I like to ask a lot of questions. So in that situation where somebody was pre-approved, for example, in September for 500,000, but they never got a firm approval, they put an offer in. As soon as that day came, it was taken off the table?
Yes.
Wow.
You see, what some people don't understand is depending where you go to get your pre-approval, whether it's a bank or a broker, you just have to make sure that they're actually doing a firm pre-approval. Because the initial pre-approval, what people do is we just look at just what you tell us. We don't validate anything. That's just a typical pre-approval. Usually when we submit these into the lenders, they don't even underwrite the deal. It comes back automatically within seconds.
Okay.
Right. The pre-approval that needs to be done is usually with a broker, where they'll actually ask you for your credit information, ask you for your job information, ask you for everything, and actually go through it line by line and say, yes, this is an approval, right? So they send it in, they'll get the automatic certificate that comes within seconds, but then now they have the backup that what your income was verified, what your credit was verified, and what your down payment is verified.
So how long does that process usually take?
Getting a firm pre-approval can take just a day.
A day?
Yeah.
Okay, because I know with some clauses when you put in an offer, you have 5 days to get that done.
Yes.
And only 24 hours.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so let me ask you what a benchmark rate is, which actually you just touched on.
Yes.
But can you clarify more about, say, for example, a joint venture or a gifted funds?
Okay. So because of these new rules that came out, I'm starting to tell people, start thinking differently. Stop just thinking about going with your own 5% and getting into a home. If the home is out of your reach, don't let that discourage you. Maybe team up with another family. So, for example, maybe 2 families go into the home, right, for the first 2 to 3 years, and then sell the home, and you guys split your funds, and then move on to another home.
Okay.
Right. That's one option.
So that'll be the joint venture.
That'll be the joint venture. Right. The other option is ask your parents for money up front. What happens a lot is parents are going to gift and will you all their equity in their home because their house is paid off, and they do it when they die. Why wait till they die for it to happen? Right? If you need it now, why don't you ask them to gift it to you now? Right? Get a gift of $50,000, $100,000 for your parents on a $100,000 mortgage. It's roughly about $500 a month.
Okay.
So it's not a dramatic shift, But for you, getting into the home, putting 100,000 down brings you a lot further than putting 5% down.
I'm sure you're a random question right now.
Sure.
I know with a certain price point,
Yes.
the amount that you have to put down for a down payment has to increase.
That's right.
So how much would it have to increase if it's not 5% that you would need to put down?
So once you go over the $500,000 mark, then they're going to ask you to put more money down.
Okay.
Yes.
Is there a specific
Yeah,
amount?
10% down.
10%.
Yeah,
Okay.
10% of anything above 500.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
And there's another solution you can do too. A lot of lenders, they've came up with a flex down payment.
Okay.
So that's typical for people that don't have any down payment, but they have access to a credit card or line of credit.
Okay.
So we can actually use that credit card for, let's say you had a credit card of $20,000.
Mm-hmm.
You could use that credit card as a down payment, and we just have to calculate how much you're paying every single month on that credit card and use that into the ratios.
Well, with that being said, then does that affect your TDSR or your GSR?
Definitely.
Okay.
It does.
Okay.
Yes. But I mean, if your income is okay and it supports it, then it works.
Okay.
Right? Instead of you, because what some people do is they don't want to use a credit card, which I understand that because credit cards are higher interest rate.
Yeah.
But now you'll be waiting 2-3 years to save up that money on your own.
What if you have a personal line of credit? Can you use that?
Yes.
For the flex rate?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, clearly a man of a lot of knowledge. Okay. So what would be another question for you? Builder home assignment clause.
Okay. So another thing that we're seeing because of these 4.64 stress tests that's happening, a lot of people are purchasing builder homes,
like condos,
and that are not finished until 2 or 3 years down the road. So the builder doesn't usually need anything physical from you, and usually we can't hold the rate for 2 or 3 years. So this is the case where we're seeing a lot of people that almost have to walk away from their home if they don't have an assignment clause in there, because now they're not qualified for that home anymore. So as a due diligence, I'm saying if you're going into a builder home, which is great because the price appreciates later, put an assignment clause in there. And what an assignment clause allows you to do is, before closing, if for some reason you cannot close on that home, I can now assign the home to you.
To somebody else.
Exactly.
There will be a cost, obviously.
Sometimes there's a cost, and sometimes you can get it built in. But yes, but it's better than walking away from the home, because the builder, if you have the contract with the builder, you no longer qualify. That's not the builder's problem, and they have the right to take your down payment.
So who would you request that assignment clause to?
From the builder itself.
Oh, okay.
Yes. It's one of your negotiations when you're purchasing. Some of them throw it in, and some of them you just have to ask for it.
As an incentive.
Yes.
So my question to you would be then, if they put down, say, 20, well, usually it's 20% with the new build.
That's right.
You put down 20% with the new build, you have the assignment clause. Or sorry, you don't have the assignment clause, but now you can't afford to purchase it.
Yes.
I'm assuming they would lose their deposit.
They would.
That's a big risk you don't want to take.
They would. I mean, yes, again, they can fall back on private funds, because private funds, they will fund you based on the merit of the deal, the equity in the home, and not based on your credit situation or income. But it gets more expensive.
Okay.
Right. So in the effort not to help you, not to make you lose your money, yes, we can give you private funds in the short term, but eventually you probably have to sell the home because you can't really afford it.
Okay. Some good points.
Well, at least it gives you an opportunity to kind of grow, like benefit from the equity that you got in place, because it's still yours. You're just in the process of like flipping it.
Exactly.
Well, that's not a bad idea.
But one of the benefits for me with somebody who could even be a first-time home buyer, because the market has changed, but we'll touch on that later on.
Yeah.
Right. But a lot of benefits would be, for example, if you can't afford to have the full amount for a resale home right now, which could be more expensive, you can do a new build, put down your 20%, and then you have 2 to 3 years to save up more money to then even furnish your property when you do get it.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
I remember previously with some of my other clients, I would even recommend taking some of the RSP money back, or the TFSA after you purchase a new development, and take that cash back you get to furnish your property.
Of course.
Which is another good way to get that done. Right?
Definitely.
Yeah. But when it comes to the resale, and you have those conditions for home inspection, status certificate if it is a condo, townhome, or just a condo itself, what risk would there be if the buyer decides to waive financing against, an agent's opinion?
Well, I mean, I would say a few months ago that was a realistic thing that people were doing. Yeah. A lot of people were waiving financing, waiving inspection, because there were so much people lined up to bid on these properties, 25 bidders and more, and they didn't want to lose the opportunity. It was scary, because I think it's dangerous.
Yes.
Obviously, you have to do what you need to do, but I was telling my clients, the risk is on you. I'm gonna help you out no matter what, But I said the risk is on you if you make that decision, because by waiving financing and by waiving inspection, you have no way out legally,
That's
right?
true.
And you can be sued. So I mean, if you can give us the 5 days, right, to allow us to check out your situation, get you firmly approved on that specific property, and then you can sleep better at night.
So I'm just going to give an example so you can see how dangerous that could be. So say, for example, you're my client.
Yes.
It'll happen eventually. You're my client.
Yeah.
$500,000 home.
Mm-hmm.
You decide to waive your home inspection, maybe because you have experience, you're
Yes.
a contract in the scenario.
Yeah.
So you could do that. You waive the home inspection, but then you also decide to waive your financing clause.
Mm-hmm.
But now the person you're buying the property from also bought a property conditional on you buying their property.
That's right.
Now you can't purchase that property.
Yep.
They're going to sue you,
Exactly.
and the other people will probably sue them.
Exactly.
That's a lot more money that you're losing rather than just your, say, $15,000 deposit.
That's right.
It's a situation you do not want to be in at all.
I'll give you an example. Recently, a client of mine went and purchased a home, and they waived the inspection.
Okay.
House looked good in integrity. And
Sorry,
everything.
what kind of home was it?
It was a detached home.
Okay.
Right. So it looked great. On the final, the lender said, "Hey, I want to do an inspection on the place." So we had to go get an inspection done. There was a crack on the foundation wall, which later, once we investigated into the basement, turned into a bigger issue that was probably patched up before.
Mm-hmm.
The lender's position was, we're just gonna not fund this deal, right? So that was the exit for the lender. So inspection is really important because you don't want to be on the hook for the whole property without financing.
Yeah, for sure. So we're going to be right back. We're going to take a quick break on the Toronto Caribbean News Network, Maurice on Home Show. We will be back with David Rhodd, a mortgage expert. Clearly, he has a lot of advice he's going to give you, and we'll be back in a few moments.
In a sea of people, it's easy to get lost amongst all the stories we have to tell. With this platform, a new voice is being heard, one that offers real insight to transform, educate, and inspire greatness, always building, nurturing, and evolving with the times. Our goal is to make a statement, to transform the world, and engage all of its citizens. Accepting multiculturalism is taking the first step, and listening to each other, uniting towards positive change. It's not about any one race, religion, or culture, but about uplifting and empowering one another. Standing above segregation is our game. Our vision is to expand, to create and implement change, zeroing in on what matters the most. Banding together to preserve and celebrate our heritage, cultures, and community spirit. Become inspired by real people, your friends and family, and see that impact within our society. Be proud of the work we have done together. Community focused, we are the Toronto Caribbean Newspaper.
Welcome back to the Maurice on Home Show on the Toronto Caribbean News Network with my special guest, Mr. David Rhodd, and my co-host, Rohan Chambers.
Yep.
So just in case you missed it and you're tuning in right now, what we touched on was the CMHC mortgage stress test that qualifies clients now who are looking to purchase a home at 4.64%. And can we go back to that for a second? So that way they know what is the regular rate for the mortgage, like for somebody who has, say, for example, a 700 credit score and valid income. What would be the regular mortgage rate right now?
So right now we're seeing rates anywhere from 2.79, 2.49, anywhere there.
Okay.
And they can be bought down a little bit also. So we're seeing rates around that price.
So that is almost double that you would be qualifying for, just to make sure that if something was to happen with employment,
that's correct,
or any other situation, you could still afford the property. We also touched on we just said that. We also touched on joint ventures, pre-approval, gifted funds. And can you just give them a quick recap?
So gifted funds, what that is borrowing funds from someone else. Usually it's family, they're related, So taking the equity out of their home, or if they have cash, and they're gifting the funds to you,
Okay.
so that you can use as a down payment.
Okay, so to touch base on that real quick.
Mhm.
So I know usually whenever you're going to fulfill the conditions in a mortgage,
Yes,
you have to show the money's in your account
That's
for
right.
approximately 90 days.
90
right?
days.
90 days. So when it comes to gifting
Mhm.
funds from a family member to the buyer,
Mhm.
how does that work? Do they have to transfer it into their account and it has to be there within 90 days? Or
So, I mean, typically, if the funds are available, I like to have the funds 90 days in advance.
Okay.
Just because it even makes me feel better that it's a firm deal. Different lenders have different rules. Some lenders, they want to see a certified draft going into the client's account a day before, 2 days before.
Okay.
So there are different lenders that have different rules. But
Okay.
if possible, let's get it ahead 90 days, because we don't want things to change before the 90 days is up, or people change their mind, getting arguments or whatever, and the deal collapses.
Is it best to have a letter written up
We will.
stating that you're going to have gifted funds from a family
Yes,
member?
there is a standard letter, and it has to say who the person is gifted from. Some lenders, they want to see the gifted source, where it came from.
Okay.
So sometimes we'll have to show 90 days of whoever gifted it to you, their down payment,
Okay.
their bank statements. So yeah, but there's a standard letter that we all put in.
Okay, so for the person who's gifting, because they're just giving the other person money,
Yes.
they don't have to provide credit report,
No.
proof of income.
No, and they don't have to be on title or anything
Okay.
like that. No.
Okay. So I'm going to throw you another question, actually. So for somebody who is looking to help another family member purchase a property,
Mhm.
but they don't want to gift it, they also want, probably some interest on the money that they're giving them.
Mhm.
Is there a way that they could put that on title so when they sell it,
Mhm.
they have to get their money back? Because sometimes people promise things but
Of course.
cannot fulfill it.
Of course.
And this is business, so it's best to have some sort of security.
Yes. In the words of gifted, no, because gifted means you have to give it and not being expecting of it to go back.
Okay.
Now, obviously, things happen outside of the scope of the mortgage industry, right? Whether people have deals where they give back the funds eventually, but for the purpose of the deal, gifted is giving it. In terms of registering a lien, they could do a second mortgage.
Okay.
Right, they can register a second mortgage at a specific interest rate. Most likely, the second mortgage is supposed to be non-arm's length, depending on where you're pulling the funds from. But they could advance a second mortgage. One easy way to do it would be a promissory note. That'd be probably the easiest way to do it.
Okay.
Right, promissory note. I lent this person $50,000. I expect them to pay it back this X amount of time with this amount of interest rate. Promissory note can stand up in court.
It's like an IOU, basically. right?
Exactly.
Okay. So when you said arm's length, what does that mean?
Arm's length means non-arm's length means like no relation to the person. So
Okay.
I could lend a second mortgage to you, no problem, right? Because we're friends, but we're not related or anything like that,
Okay.
right? So that's better. Once there's commingling, it could affect some tax consequences.
Okay. All right. And you definitely want to end up being audited
No.
down the road.
No,
That's something you don't want at all. Okay. So, for example, how would you recommend somebody who has the property, now they purchased it,
Okay.
they're renovating the basement now because they bought the new home,
Yep.
new development.
Okay.
Usually, unless you pay extra, you don't get the basement finished.
That's right.
And so now they have 2 bedrooms, a separate entrance, a full kitchen,
Mhm.
and a living room.
Mhm.
So it's classified as a basement rental.
Yes.
Does that help increase your equity? So then you could, sorry, go ahead.
No, go on.
Potentially refinance or?
So yes, anything you put into the property usually works out to be dollar for dollar on big items. So you finishing a basement, putting in $20,000, usually increases your property by $20,000. If they knew before that they wanted to finish their basement, what we usually advise them is there's a specific product called Purchase Plus Improvements. So that's where you go into any property. Could be new development, could be resale, and the lender will actually advance you the amount to do whatever renovation that you want to do. So, for
really?
example,
Okay.
if, like you said, I'm going into a house and I want to finish the basement, I know it's going to cost me $20,000 or more. I go and I get 3 quotes, Home Depot and 2 other providers. I will have to put up the money first to finish the basement, so I'll have to pay the $20,000 to finish the basement. But after I show the lender the receipts, and they come again with the appraisal, then the lender will release the $20,000 from the lawyer
Okay.
back to me.
Oh, that's good.
Right. right? So so then it's tied into your mortgage.
Okay.
And they're doing that because they know that when you put 20,000 in, the value goes up 20,000.
So let's flip the script a little bit.
Mhm.
So now you're looking at the property,
Yes.
resale property.
Yep.
You have an income of or pre-approval or a firm approval, sorry,
Okay.
of $500,000.
Yep.
That property is worth $580.
Okay.
Now, basement is finished. Separate entrance is classified as a legal basement apartment.
Yes.
Your income is say $100,000.
Okay.
Because your firm approval is only at 500,
Mhm.
but the property is worth 580. With that basement rental, how can that help you purchase the property?
Good question. So again, there are a few lenders. Not all the lenders do it, but they'll take different amounts of the basement. Some will take 100%, and some will take 80%.
Okay.
So they'll, if it's a legal basement, as you said, separate entrance, they can get in and out, kitchen, stuff like that. Then yes, they can take some of that income. So what they'll do is they'll do a market rents. So they'll ask a realtor like yourself
Okay.
to go out and get market rents in that area. How much could you rent this basement for? $1,000, $1,500, whatever it is. And now we can use that into the ratios,
Okay.
right? And present it as one case. We will need a lease agreement up front stating that, you've already got Rohan to say, hey, I'm going to come in here and rent this, right? We show them the lease agreement and we can use that towards your income.
So it's basically, directly actually
Mhm.
increasing the amount of monthly income that you have,
It is.
which is why now you can qualify for the property.
That's right.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Some very good tips there. So what is exactly contributor income or OWC, optimized wealth creation?
Okay, so contributory income is a newer product that I've been seeing recently. I guess this came up just due to some of the changes that happened too. A lot of lenders are fighting back, bringing up new products so that people can still compete in the market and get into a home. So with contributory income, this is ideal for people that live or don't mind living with their parents. So what happens is you could put your name on the property, on title, on the mortgage.
Okay.
But because your parents are moving in with you, whether they're going to stay in the in-law suite or stay in the basement, I can now use their income without putting them on the title of the mortgage and without putting them on the property.
Really?
So, I mean, let's say your parents are retired and they're making pension, right? So usually I think the pension is about $25,000 each person.
Okay.
So on a couple, that's an extra $50,000 of income coming in, right? So
Yeah.
that I can use to qualify you for a property.
Okay. So would the OWC usually be with a private lender or a lender?
So for the contributory income,
Yeah.
So the contributory income is we're seeing it a lot with alternative lenders, so the B lenders.
Okay.
They're the ones that are doing it because they want a more significant down payment. So what's happening is a lot of the parents are selling their homes, and instead of going into nursing homes and stuff like that, they're living with kids for better care, right? So they can put more down payment down, and now we can use that income to qualify them for a bigger house because now you're going to need a bigger house to support your family and your in-laws,
Okay.
right? So you can go into a bigger house because of that.
Okay. Okay. But you mentioned before that in this situation, the parents are on pension.
Yes.
Nowadays, which we were discussing, I think
Yeah.
yesterday, we had a photo shoot for one of my clients, but a lot of people with the employers that they work for don't even get pensions anymore. Now, how can you recommend somebody to still be, having excessive cash flow or good enough cash flow to live off of and not have to worry about a pension that they may either lose because they may get laid off? Job market is not the greatest right now.
Yes.
With real estate.
So the pension that I was referring to for the 25,000 was the government pension.
Oh, okay.
Right. So if they're getting pension from their employer, that's a bonus.
Yeah.
Right. So that'll increase it even more. So those rates that I gave you of 50,000, if they're given pension from their employer, then it increases it even more of what their household income is.
Okay.
And this rule is not limited to anybody. Like if you had family that moved in any capacity, like aunts, uncles, cousins,
Yes.
you can still do that kind of thing, right?
Exactly.
Okay. So it doesn't have to be the immediate
No.
family.
No.
Okay. Okay. So what are the rates with the contributor income?
So what I've been seeing, the rates are around 3.79 to 4.5%.
Okay.
Because, like I said, it's an alternative product. So it's you're not going to get the actual bank rates of 2.79, 2.69 around there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I see that you have something over there. It looks like a book.
It's a book in progress.
So it's called House Rich, Cash Poor No More.
Yes.
So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
So this is the book that I've written. It's coming out this year. Basically, the book is gonna give the potential reader step-by-step instructions on how to get into a home first, because I believe getting into a home is one of the biggest and greatest investments that you can do. And then once you get into the home, the book can show you how to pay off your mortgage faster without changing your existing budget. So, I mean, we're not talking about biweekly payments. We're not talking about prepayments. We're talking about just channeling your money to flow differently so that a lot of it goes towards your mortgage.
Okay.
Right? And then once we get your mortgage under control, then we want to show you how to start pulling out some of that equity and investing and leveraging your house to make more money for you, because we want to build generational wealth. Okay. So not just wealth for you, but wealth that can be passed down to your kids.
Yes.
Right? So different assets. So by getting this book, which will be out this year, you can get it if you go to my website, davidrhodd.com. They can sign up for the pre-release, and once the book is coming out, they'll be notified and get on the list, and they can purchase the book.
Okay. So what time what time this year will it be coming out?
We're thinking just before fall. We're just in the final edits right now. Okay. So it could be sooner. Okay. But the latest would be fall.
Okay. So it'll be a good Christmas gift.
Yes, exactly.
What other holidays are coming up later on?
No, right?
Christmas, Hanukkah.
Anything and everything. Okay. Yeah. So you said that it's a good way to create generational wealth.
Yes.
I'll look into the book after, but can you let us know exactly how that can be achieved?
So generational wealth, just to describe and explain it, is wealth that goes past this single generation that we have here. So I'm talking about, I have 3 kids, so I'm talking about leaving money for my kids and making sure my kids have a head start so that they can leave for their kids.
Okay.
Right? So the best way to do that is by investing in appreciable assets. Okay. So for me, I like secure assets, so real estate, mortgage investing. Okay. Those are the bread and butter of the things that I invest into. Yes, we do some stocks, but primarily mortgages and real estate investing. So what people normally do is, the school of thought is pay down your mortgage as fast as possible. Yeah. Which is great. What I find happens is people focus so hard on paying off their mortgage that they're getting to retirement and they're not having any savings. Okay. Right? They have this house free and clear, and then because they're not working as much, or they're in a lower income bracket, now it's harder for me to get them a mortgage, right? So that they can't pull that money out. Okay. So what we're doing is we're putting people into products right now so that as they start to pay down their house, they get a line of credit that increases.
So it's like a home power line of credit.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right? They don't have to pay on the line of credit unless it's being utilized.
I'm going to have to stop right there.
Perfect.
We've got to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back in a few minutes on the Maurice on Home Show, Toronto Caribbean News Network.
When we are born, the world is a foreign place. We have not yet mastered the use of our 5 senses, and our eyes cannot decipher the complexities of judgments we do not know. As children, our innocence allows us to see a world of endless possibilities. We thrive in the world of imagination, creating a place where everyone writes a unique story, and there is zero judgment, since everyone is the same, yet unique in their own way. Over the years, humanity has altered our ways of thinking, creating stigma, judgment, and prejudice based on the history of our ancestors. We have trained ourselves to believe that our history puts us at a disadvantage in society. Our unique and exotic classifications are a testament to the diversity of the world. History doesn't have a future. It's set in stone. The possibility for change lies in our responsibility to know our self-worth, learning from the history, embracing and honoring our heritage, while educating, inspiring, and empowering others to see past what's in front of them to the power inside. It's not about what you look like. It's about realizing the potential of humanity and recognizing the greatness in everyone. It's time to invest in solutions, change the conversation, and think differently about our future. Life isn't a competition of who can do better than the other. It's about eradicating prejudice, boosting self-esteem, discovering our identity, and carving out our own legacy while aspiring to achieve greatness.
for tuning in on the Maurice on Home Show on Toronto Caribbean News Network with my special guest, David Rhodd, and my special co-host, Rohan Chambers. So a couple of topics that we touched on was the mortgage stress test with the CMHC changes, increasing their premiums by $5.
Yes.
Right? We touched on getting a pre-approval and a firm approval, and also some ways that you can make sure that your investment is protected with not waiving your financing for conditions when you're purchasing a property, just to name a few. But right now, what we're going to talk about is mindset. Now, I never used to really watch a lot of motivational speakers until I got into real estate full time, because I was doing real estate about 4 years. No, I'm going into my 5th year. I've been doing real estate for 3.5 years now. When I went full time, especially starting off with no regular stream of income compared to like a regular 9-to-5 job, it's very hard, stressful, emotional.
Definitely.
I was crying a couple times a night. You know, it gets very tough sometimes. So you have to make sure that your mindset is right.
That's right.
In your book, I realized, by the book is called House Rich.
House Rich, Cash Poor.
Thank you very much. Which is available later this year. But there's a chapter in the book that says making your mindset. If I'm not mistaken. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So basically, it's exactly what you said. When you're on this path to financial independence, mindset is everything. You actually have to envision the end before you even start on this journey, right? So if you want to become a millionaire, you need to be a millionaire today. So it's a mindset thing.
I like that.
Right? So
you gave me chills.
Right? You have to be able to train your mindset, and sometimes being an entrepreneur, it's hard because your mindset is something that you're, for a better lack of word, you're dreaming of, but your reality is what you can see, right in front of you. So when you have those bills piling up, when you have no clients calling you to get into a house, you still have to think in your mind, I'm the best real estate agent in the world.
Oh, thank you. You're so kind.
Of course, right? Right. You have to, because that, it changes your energy and it changes the way how you go out and you do business. And it's the analogy is of a dog. They always say a dog smells fear.
Yeah.
Right. You're afraid of the dog. You walk a certain way, and then the dog like harps on that and barks. So it's the same analogy here. No matter what's going on surrounding you, what situation you're in, you have to start getting out of your situation and start thinking about in the future and where you want to be. And sometimes if it's hard to do that, what you can do is certain things that I used to do is I used to go on YouTube and listen to Tony Robbins in the morning. Les Brown, all those like raw motivational.
Les Brown
guys.
was the guy who got me introduced to motivational speaking. He's very powerful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. You go on YouTube and you just listen to everything and you get all wrought up, and then you just go out and work with your day. Right. So mindset is very important.
So what you're saying is you have to find your purpose within.
You have to.
Okay. You have to. Okay. So I know one of the process we mentioned, you have to get which we actually never touched fully. So the documents that are required in order to get a pre-approval or firm approval is proof of employment, credit report, which includes your credit score, and if you're self-employed, I think we need 2 or 3 NOAs. In this case, it'll be 2016 and 2015.
That's right.
So what difference can it make with your credit versus your credit score?
So, your credit score is your beacon. So we're looking for minimum 650 beacon. That's what the banks and the lenders want to see. But your credit report shows your history. So we have to look at 2 things, right? So although sometimes your beacon is reflected higher at 650, sometimes your report shows that you've had 2 missed payments in 2017, 3 missed payments in 2016. So when I'm sending a file in like that, the lender wants to know a story. What happened here, right? What happened in 2017? Why you missed 2 payments? And the story has to be believable and make sense, so that the lender feels when they lend their funds to you, they're not at risk of you going into default.
So can you give me an example as to a situation that would be acceptable?
No. I know. I'm going to go into a situation. I said no excuse is really acceptable.
Okay.
But they can understand, like, sometimes people miss payments because they lost a job. Right. So they lost a job for 3 months. They had to go on EI, and then they were able to find a job again. that a lender understands it a lot better. Teachers, in primary example, in the summer they're off and they go on EI for the entire period, so their income drops.
Okay.
Right. So there may be reasons why it's behind a death in the family, things like that. They can understand that. They may ask for death certificates and stuff like that, but it's a story, but that they can kind of look past.
Okay. So for somebody who has self-employment,
Yes.
how can that be different? Or how can it be different to get a qualification for a mortgage? Is it more difficult, or is it relatively the same process?
It's the same process, but it is more difficult.
Okay.
Because as self-employed, traditionally what happens is they make a lot more money than they declare.
Okay.
Right. So with a person that works 9 to 5, they typically have a pay stub. It's crystal clear how much they're making, how much they're going to make. Self-employed, you can manipulate that so much. So they take higher precautions with self-employed people. That's why they ask for 3 years notice of assessments. Because
3 years.
3 years, yeah, because they want to be able to take an average. So if you made 50 and then 70 and then 40, they want to know what's going on and just take the average of all three and say, okay, this is what we want to use.
So with somebody who is regularly employed, how many years notice of assessment do they require?
Usually they don't need any notice of assessments unless the person worked a lot of overtime. And 1 year they make 40, next year they make 60. Then it's great to bring the notice of assessment so that we can kind of average out and say, hey, on average they make about $50,000 a year, something like that.
Okay. I've had people ask me personally in the past. 'Cause I know sometimes it is still possible, but it doesn't happen often.
Okay.
Somebody who can purchase a property without a down payment.
Okay. So we did have a zero down payment program. That was removed. It was replaced with the flex down, which we spoke about earlier, which you can use your credit card line of credit.
Okay.
And also some lenders have like a cash back program.
Okay.
So meaning they'll give you 3% cash back, but they'll give it to you a week or two after closing. Some of them do it 3 days after closing.
Okay.
So you'd actually have to come up with the money up front, and then you can get the cash back after.
Definitely sounds interesting.
Yep.
So let's talk a little bit more about investments.
Okay.
So before the break, we were talking about generational wealth,
Yes.
but we haven't really gotten back to that yet.
Okay.
It's about time.
Yes. let's
So
go back to it.
how can security investing help with generational wealth?
So what I was saying earlier was that the school of thought that most of us come from is pay down your mortgage as fast as possible.
Yeah.
And as soon as they pay off their mortgage as fast as possible, they're usually people usually pay off mortgages before retirement, if not in retirement. So they're at the age of 65 now. Their income changes dramatically. They're no longer making the income that they're making. Now they're strictly on pension. Now coming back to me, it's harder for me to get them a mortgage because the bank's like, hey, your income's less, but you're sitting on all this equity here. So how do you get it out? The only way you can get it out is either a reverse mortgage or by selling the property. So what we're doing is we're trying to backtrack 20 years and say, here, you're at your highest income potential right now. So let's get you a mortgage with a line of credit. So what happens is as you pay down the mortgage, this line of credit increases, but you're not charged on the line of credit unless you use it, right? So typically a line of credit is going to charge you prime plus 2% or 1%. So let's say your average interest rate is about 3 to 4% on a line of credit. So what we're showing people how to do is stop leaving all of your equity into one basket, right? You wouldn't put all your investments into one solution. So what we're saying is if anything was to happen to this real estate market and you have all your equity in your home, you get hit 100%.
It's always best to diversify your portfolio. A lot of millionaires that I've read upon have more than one stream of income.
Exactly.
So if you really are trying to get to that end goal, why wouldn't you do the same?
That's right. So I'm showing people take money out of your equity. So let's say you pull out $100,000 at 3% interest rate. Why don't we invest that into another home? Call Maurice and help him to get you a home that fits an investment, right? Or take that money out and invest it into mortgages. So typically, if I'm investing in mortgages, I'm getting a 15% rate of return per year. Okay. But the money only costs me 3%. So I'm up 12% every year. So I'm leveraging using the bank's money to make me money. And this is not something new. This is something that's proven by the banks. The banks do it all day, every day. So it's basically just mimicking the exact system that we see as successful.
Okay. So
now, is it difficult to add that, like when you're applying for your mortgage or whatnot, or is it like something that you guys proactively promote? Or
so proactively promote it. Yes, we can. If they need to refinance, we could add a line of credit at a later date. It's best if we do everything up front. Yeah, on like renewal or when they're going into a home or something like that.
Okay. So we talked about the different types of mortgages.
Yes.
I know with one of my previous clients that I've helped in the Durham region to purchase a property, we had to go the route of a first and second mortgage.
That's right.
So for anybody who doesn't really know what that is in the process, can you enlighten them, please?
So a first and second mortgage is usually because we run into a situation where you thought you had enough down payment and something changed. Could have been income, could have been credit, and you're no longer qualified for what you need. So the lender is willing to lend you a first mortgage at whatever rate it is, whether it's 2% or 4%, that rate. And then what we do is we get a second mortgage. So we'll get a private individual like yourself that has money sitting down, whether cash, RSPs, line of credit, and we'll lend you the money registered on your title, on your property, right? And it becomes a second mortgage. So there's two payments. So it's second in priority. So your first mortgage is priority, and then it's second in priority.
So in retrospect, it's working both with A and B lenders.
Yes.
Okay.
That's
Now,
right.
is there a certain time frame that is required to pay off the second mortgage?
Usually second mortgages are advanced for a 1 year period.
Okay.
But if you have good payment, they can be renewed and extended.
Okay.
So usually what we do is when we're lending someone a second mortgage, we want the house to appreciate. So we're waiting till the house appreciates, 5, 10, 15%. We're waiting until their credit gets rectified, their income goes up. And then once they do that, they refinance and pay the second mortgage out, because second mortgage is primarily just interest only.
Okay. So say, for example, same scenario. First and second mortgage, the mortgage is approximately $1,800 a month.
Okay.
First mortgage covers a portion of that. Second mortgage takes over the rest at interest-only payments. They somehow win $649
Yes.
and pay off that second mortgage.
Mhm.
Now, with their monthly payments, would that go down
Yes.
because of the second mortgage no longer being in effect?
Yes.
Okay. So it's going to free up some more cash flow for you,
Definitely.
which then you could put into a secured investment
Exactly.
and diversify your portfolio.
That's right.
All in this book, right?
All in this book.
Okay. So once again, this book is called House Rich, Cash Poor, No More. We'll be right back on the Maurice on Home Show on the Toronto Caribbean News Network. We'll continue to speak with David Rhodd. Tune in.
Begin with a vision to start a movement, to make a real impact in society, communicating their message and aligning themselves with like-minded people to equip and inspire others to attain their vision. Creating a vital, healthy community is a group effort, and at the heart of it, you'll find local businesses and organizations fueled by committed people who are passionate about building a better tomorrow for us all. The Toronto Caribbean newspaper has started their own movement, promising to focus on the needs of the community, seeking out relationships with businesses and corporations that share in that same mission. We are legacy builders with one shot to make a difference, and together we can empower the community by adding value, instilling self-worth, and showcasing the cultural identity of our beautiful and ethnically diverse community. As business leaders, we have a corporate responsibility to set the tone of our community with principles led by performance-focused results. By combining our reach, we can provide a platform to establish and share our contributions with the world. We are all people working for companies that are interested in building a better community, helping people stand tall and be proud of their culture. If anybody has ever done it, then you can too. We are all capable, and working together, combining our skills and resources, we can make a change and leave behind an unforgettable legacy.
Welcome back to the Maurice on Home Show on the Toronto Caribbean News Network. Thanks for tuning in every single week. We have our special guest today, David Rhodd, mortgage broker, author, and my special co-host, Rohan Chambers. So earlier today in the show, we were talking about a couple things. The mortgage stress test, CMHC, Canadian Mortgage Housing Corporation, increased their monthly payments by an extra $5 per month. Now, that's not a lot, but when you're already, spending a lot of money on your mortgage, your bills, your hydro, your gas, $5 sometimes can make a big difference. So mortgage rates are approximately, on average, 2.59, 2.69%.
Yes.
The stress test will qualify you at 4.64%. So that's almost double the rate.
That's right.
Talked about assignment clauses for new builds, condos, condo townhomes, semi-detached, which basically means that if you purchased a property and you wanted to resell it to somebody else before it's done being built, you can do so. If, for example, your financial situation changes and you just no longer can afford to purchase the property.
That's right.
Okay. But before the break, we were talking about a couple things. We talked about flex down payment, contributor income, and we slightly touched on OWC, which stands for Optimized Wealth Creation. So can you tell us a little bit more about that, please?
So Optimized Wealth Creation is a software that most of my clients are using right now. Basically, what the software does is the software, its only purpose is to use your money for its best and highest use.
Okay.
So typically, a person that has a mortgage or has debt, the software will, with all its algorithms and those calculations that I can't compute manually, and most people can't, it shows you how to pay off your mortgage faster. And the reason for that is because typically a household has, a mortgage with one institution. They have credit cards here. Everything has different interest rates. Mortgages at 2.79, credit cards are at 24%, 19%. You have investments over here and things like that. And habitually, what we naturally do is when we get a credit card statement, it says pay $200, we pay $200. When we get a mortgage statement, it says pay $2,000, we pay $2,000, right? And we're doing that because the statement told us to do that. We're not really thinking.
Yeah.
But those statements, you have to realize, they're for the benefit of the person that you borrowed the money from. So the credit card company that wants you to pay $200 a month, they want you to do that because they have a plan on how much money they want to make off of you.
Yeah.
And if you want to stick to their plan, you pay $200 a month.
Okay.
Right? And just like your mortgage, if you want to pay off your mortgage in 25 years, then we want you to pay $2,000 every single month. But what the program shows you how to do, it says, no, this month, it does all this calculation. Say, maybe you should pay $220 towards your credit card this month because it's going to give you the maximum savings. And then next month, it's going to say, pay, 2010 to your mortgage. So, and then the following month, it'll say, on your credit card, pay 180, pay 150, things like that. So it does all the calculations for you.
Okay.
And then with the use of a line of credit or an overdraft account, it shows you how to get rid of a savings account altogether. Because a savings account, basically what you do is you don't make any money on a savings account.
Yeah.
1%.
Very minimal.
Yeah.
Right? So people put, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 in a savings account. Sometimes it's better with some of the products that we have is taking that money and putting it on a mortgage or putting it on a credit card so that you're saving less interest.
Yes.
Right? And using a line of credit to make sure that your money comes back to you.
So it sounds like you have experience with OWC.
Yes.
So can you give some examples as to how you've helped your clients save monetary funds?
Okay, sure. One client most recently, they were paying off their mortgage in 25 years, and we showed them how to pay it off in 15 years.
15
now,
years.
When they pay this off, they're not changing their budget. Right?
Really?
It's the same budget that they're using.
Okay.
So we're not asking them to, if they're paying $5,000 on everything, we're not asking them to pay $6,000. We're saying pay the same $5,000, but we're going to show you how to distribute your money differently.
Okay.
Right? And by doing that, you're saving thousands in interest. So for that client, if I remember correctly, the amount of interest that they saved was about $41,000 just off of their mortgage for paying it off early.
Okay.
But what a lot of people don't realize, and I didn't even realize this before, is by taking a longer time to pay off your mortgage, you're missing out on opportunity. And there's a huge opportunity cost. So a typical client, as we kind of went to earlier, they take 25 years to pay off their mortgage.
Yes.
And then at the 25-year point, usually it's close to when they retire, then they start saving as much as possible, right? So that they'll have enough to live off for retirement. Now, if I can show you how to pay off your mortgage in 15 years, that means that's an extra 10 years earlier that you can now start putting money into yourself.
Yeah. And
the results that we're seeing is just a 10-year shift of you putting money into yourself. It works out to you having a savings account of $250,000 to $1 million. And with people that are paying off their mortgage in 25 years, I'm not seeing those same results.
Now, I definitely want to continue this conversation because it's very interesting, and you have a lot of knowledge and a book that will be out later this year. But for anybody who wants to get a hold of you, how can they reach you?
I'll make it easy. They can just go to my website, davidrhodd.com. So it's DAVIDRHO2D.com. And they can contact me there. I have all my information there.
Okay. All right. So thank you very much for coming on the show. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on the show.
No
Maurice.
problem. make sure you pick up his book when it comes out later this year. Go on the website he just mentioned. I'm sure you can get more information when that will be available. Thanks for tuning in on the Maurice on Home Show of the Toronto Caribbean News Network. Have a nice day.